Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. And today we're talking, somebody bought Kanye's art that was featured on Antique Roadshow. So you may remember a few months back, shout out W Magazine here for having this article. It was 40220 that breaks this down. So Antiques Roadshow, somebody randomly was there with Kanye West high school artwork, and it was Kanye's mom's cousin's partner or husband, husband, that brought this artwork. So when Donna passed away, she had this work from Kanye, and the portfolio went to, as part of the estates, this first cousin who's just kind of been sitting with it for 12 years. And finally, the partner was like, hey, we should figure out, how much this is worth. So they took it on to Antique Roadshow, and it ended up being valued at around like $18,000 to $23,000, I'm pretty sure. And you can see the diversity in the artwork, something that's really surreal like this, a little more grounded here, but still surreal, and then very realistic here, as well as these very colorful pieces that are more nature oriented. And we've seen a few other pieces from Kanye's high school works that were featured on MTV. I have a whole video about this if you want to search the channel, or I might link to it down in the description, but we go over a lot more of the known works that Kanye has. But you can see these pieces, right? This one right here, valued 2 to 3K, 3 to 5K right here, 5 to 7K for these colorful ones, and then 6 to 8 for this main one that's really striking. Just the fact that it's the chains and the duality with the double facial features. Striking piece. So the collector bought them all, right? It doesn't say the price. You imagine probably more than 20K, but it's Vinoda Basnayake, who is a law student and actually helped promote a Kanye West performance at Club 2K9 in Washington, D.C. And Vinoda has actually been doing this for a lot of artists. He says in this interview that he's really fascinated with the beginnings of artists and helping them. So for several musicians, comedians, he's helped been their promoter getting started in the United States, coming from the UK, coming from Canada, which is kind of cool. And Vinoda has just been a huge Kanye fan from the get-go. So, good on Complex. I trash a lot of their news articles, but this interview is really thoughtful. The fact that they were able to track Vinoda down and do this pretty extensive interview is nice. So why we're interested in purchasing the art, and you can see it's just, I think he's a musical genius, and I was shocked by the art because it was sort of like, this guy's brilliant, and it's regardless of the medium of the art. He's just so talented. I was super impressed. I've always been really interested in the origins of artists. And Vinoda, they say here, is a lawyer today, right? And works in the, has a hospitality fund where he co-owns popular venues in DC, including Heist, Morris American Bar, Shepherd, and Costa's. So definitely had some money to burn, I think, when it comes to acquiring Kanye art pieces and living the dream that I'm sure a lot of us had, because I couldn't be the only one that saw these and was like, could I buy one of those? Like, could I reach out and buy one of them? But he made it a reality. Yeah, 16 to 23,000. So then what happened after you first contacted them? And it seemed to be a process, right? Reached out, didn't hear anything for months, kind of got a maybe, reached out again, didn't hear anything for months, and was just persistent. If you ever change your mind, I have a genuine interest in these pieces. I'm involved in the arts in many different ways. I really feel like I'd be a good home for it, et cetera, et cetera. And then just in January, right, after nearly, I'm guessing, 6 or more months of kind of asking and waiting, they reached out and said they're ready to sell. So they're now Vinoda's. So he said he actually flew out to Los Angeles because he didn't trust them being shipped, and that the works were just in an old leather portfolio, which I think if anybody's an art collector, knowing that they're not stored in like a actual container, but just rolled up in a portfolio, it's a little scary. So he drove them back, took them to a museum to have the museum actually treat them, frame them, get them ready. So definitely treating them with the TLC that they deserve. And there was something else that was interesting in here. Okay, yeah, they said that they had a portfolio. Yeah, I thought there was much more than what they presented on the show. So they said that they had a portfolio, which I was willing to buy, but they said a lot of what they had in that portfolio was sketchbook art, and they don't know where that art is. Which, one, shame on, not to like, it's a joking shame on you, but man, you're given like, when they got it, it's like 2007, 2008, like Kanye's already released Graduation, right? Like he has 808s and Heartbreak, he's Kanye West, and you get this artwork and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna lose it. And not know where it is. Maybe they're just like being polite, like we don't know what it is, so don't ask. We don't know where it is, so don't ask us anymore. Maybe that's it. But how could you just not know? To my understanding, it wasn't actual pieces. It was more like a sketchbook of his doodles and drawings and things like that. Which I think you're thinking what I'm thinking, which is like that's still interesting, right? I want to see what those are, what he was sketching, what he was doodling, the progression of it, the style of it. Curious, 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 curious. There's actually a program that I have that came with the art that was from his art show in 1995, which is what we're looking at here, talking about him going to the university. So, it talks about how he was just like somewhere and Antiques Roadshow was on in the background and he just saw the arts and was like, oh, that's really striking, and went and turned up the volume, and then Kanye, just like, of course it's Kanye. Of all the times to be like struck by the art on Antiques Roadshow, just like, you know what? A lot of this stuff is usually just like weird, or I don't care about it. It's a little boring, even if it's valuable. And then you're finally struck by art and you're already a Kanye fan, and then it ends up being Kanye art. This is just getting into, was the appraisal too low? And this is where Vinoda talks about some of his history, right? So I was really interested in it because I genuinely love artist origin stories. That's how I started my career. I found artists that I thought were talented that were not mainstream, and then I booked them for shows. I did that with Jay Sean, the musician. He was a UK med student when I connected with him, and then we brought him to the US, and within 6 months he had Down, and it was the #1 track in America. I was his tour manager for the first year because literally he didn't have one track on American radio, and I was like, this guy's got mad skills. I think he's going to blow up. And then I did the same thing with Russell Peters. Like, I kind of downplayed it a little bit with just like a comedian from Canada. But Russell Peters has been pretty huge for what, over a decade now? And yeah, here. I hit him up and I was like, hey, I know you're big in Canada. I would love to be the first promoter who brings you to the US. I think you could kill it here. And he killed it here. Within a year, he was one of the highest grossing comedians in America. With his art, it was really interesting because it's where his artistic origin was. And that's what I'm super interested in. So now we just need to get Vinoda to get the OG Mario game that Kanye was creating, which was actually not Mario, but sex organs going through levels. Yeah. But that's what started him making music, was because he was trying to make music for his video game. And I was like, making a game is difficult. It involves so many people that aren't me doing things, but making music, I can do that. And then he talks about the fact that, yeah, when, let's see, yeah, I picked it up. Kim Kardashian posted North's artwork on her Instagram, and she posted a throwback to Kanye's art, and it was literally the 4 pieces that I own. Yeah, in the midst of people doubting whether or not North actually did this picture, Kim posted like a series of, I guess, like retweets from other people onto her Instagram story, and one of them was the Antique Roadshow prints. Though that's one of the interesting things about this. You can see that Vinoda says 4 pieces, where when we look at this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I do wonder which one of these got left out. Like, is it just this because it's more of a sketch, or is it this because it's a zoomed in tree? I don't know. Like, this is more interesting in terms of these two because it's part of a series, as I was saying up front, like realistic, a little more surreal, very surreal, where this is just similar style. I don't know. If they just wanted to keep one of the pieces because the cousin, right, and didn't want to sell all of them, or if they consider this one piece. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah. And then asked, have Kim or Kanye reached out? No, nobody's reached out. It does talk about brokers who have tried to like get paid to set up a connection between them. It's just like, I'm gonna trust that or do that. Like, yeah, do you want me to connect you? I'm just gonna take 10%. Like, what? No, no. Why do you think they sold it to you? Did they say other people were trying to purchase it? Yeah, he said a couple people had reached out. He actually wrote me a really nice note where he was like, a bunch of people reached out, but you seem like the most sincere and the most genuine, so I've decided to go with you. It was very nice. Weird tangent, but in Austin, it's really hard to buy houses, and recommend writing a note if you're looking at buying a house anywhere, you know? I think it can make the difference. And even if you're trying to purchase Kanye pictures from people, writing a heartfelt letter about what this means to you and just being very genuine about your intentions, I think can make the extra difference in something happening and not happening. I recommended to somebody that was actually struggling to purchase a house to write a letter, and they did, and then they bought the next house that they put in an offer for after like 8 of them getting rejected. So there's some life advice for you, you know, keep that in mind. Are you hanging up in your place? Have you put them in frames? The day I got them, I took them to get museum frames so they could be protected, because when I picked them up, yeah, they were literally in an old leather portfolio, which was almost frightening. But he says I need to figure out what I'm going to do. So he talked about putting them up in his house, right? That was the initial idea. He has some other artwork, but then museums have now reached out to him because it's Kanye and are wanting to what is it, hold them, show them, that's the lingo. I'm so uncultured, I'm a swine. But show them in their museum. So has a little bit of a decision to make when it comes to, do I keep these for myself or do I loan them out for a little bit? Or just like keep that cycle. I'll loan them for 3 months, get them back for a little while, loan them out, get them back. I don't know what that situation is like. Again, swine, but be curious to find out what happens. And if they do get into a museum, go to that museum. I need to do that, right? I missed out the giant like Yeezus Virgil Abloh thing that everybody else got to go see. So this I will go see. And then just some other artists that he collects. And the last question, what would happen if Kanye said, I'd like to buy it from you? He's like, yeah, if he wants him back, it's his art. He has a right to have his art. I'm happy to have that conversation. Which, like, I'm happy to have that conversation is such polite business talk, right? And Complex is just like, but you would have just give it to him, right? Like, we're talking money here. Like, yeah, I mean, there's probably a universe in which we could figure something out. I'm sure we could figure something out. Yeah, I'm sure you could. It's like, Kanye, negotiations for these prints, given I have interest from major money players such as yourself, I don't know, 600,000 a piece. No, I mean, at that point, you're just happy to be able to like connect with Kanye and do something that's like fair. And maybe you get Yeezys for the rest of your life. I don't know. But you at least have the experience of meeting with Kanye, I think, and having this conversation with him, which would, you know, what's the thing? Would you rather have dinner with Jay-Z or get $500,000 or $5 million? So would you rather like try to get as much money from Kanye as you can, or have a conversation with him? You know the answer. I know the answer. And I guess that's it for this video. Our late registration lyrical analyses are currently going out on our podcast platform all over the place. If you have Apple, Spotify, Tidal, anywhere else you listen to podcasts, you can check them out. I believe the Drive Slow episode or Gold Digger episode came out today. Travis releases those. I just sit here and talk about them. But those are coming out over the next month, 2 months. And then our graduation episodes are currently releasing on Patreon only. So if you want to catch up on all of our previous album coverage and change forever how you listen to Kanye's music, then you want to go and check out our seasons on College Dropout, Late Registration, Yay, Kids See Ghost, and Jesus is King. As we go back through the discography a second time, we'll be having Graduation 2.0, 808s 2.0, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Yeezus, and The Life of Pablo 2.0 coming out over the course of this next year and a half. So exciting things. But that's it. Until next time, stay wavy, and please, I beg of you, keep it loopy.